Good day and welcome. I'm Tom McIntyre, the person behind BehaviorAdvisor.com. You've heard it all before. If those kids would just listen and do what I tell them to do, there wouldn't be a problem. Yes, if we were king or queen of the world, things would be much better. We're going to talk today about those youngsters who are known for their non-cooperative, resistant, or otherwise defiant behavior patterns before we delve into the nature of conflict between individuals. First, though, I've got some bell work for you. A do now activity, so to speak. Pause your podcast and consider the following questions. When you're ready, start our session again. Welcome back. Keep those ideas in mind as we move through our series of podcasts today, looking at the incidence level. Are there a lot of kids out there who are defiant and non-cooperative? Is it a major issue for schools? We'll look at what exactly we're talking about. What is the definition of lack of cooperation, insubordination? We'll look at both the externalized, dramatic, outward type of defiance and the subdued, restricted type of non-cooperative behavior. We'll come to better understand why it is that kids engage in such actions and be able to identify the reasons for it in a particular youngster. We'll come to better understand why it is that students and teachers engage in behavioral battles, how it happens, how to keep it from happening, and what to do if it does happen. We'll also look at conflict between youngsters, how we can intervene in a student-to-student, youngster-to-youngster conflict situation in a manner where we come across as the wise elder. Let's start out our time together with an activity. In just a minute, I'm going to ask you to pause this podcast and go and locate a partner who is willing to assist you with this activity. When you return, that person will be extending a hand to you, so to speak. Once you've located your partner, please resume this recording. But pause now. Welcome back, and let me extend a hearty welcome to our partner who's joined us in this activity. To our guest, you will be person number 1 for the purposes of this activity, and to the person who's been tuning in since the beginning, you will be person number 2. Person number 1, our guest. Please raise your hand in the air, bring your fingers down, and hold your fist over toward person number 2. Person number 2, this is not an aggressive fist. It's just a closed hand. Person number 2, you're in charge of the situation. You are the captain in this area. We don't allow closed fists in this area. You got to do something about it. In this room, there are no closed fists. It's against the rules. You represent us. You've got to do something about it. Get that hand open. Now, not later, now. You're the teacher. You're the mentor. You're the person in charge. Get that fist open. Figure out how to do it. Don't stop. You've got a job to do. Keep going until you get compliance. If your activity hasn't ended at this point, please end it now. Oh, the responses I see when I do this activity at my workshops. It isn't unusual for a large percentage of professionals to try to pry open that fist. They reach in, they grab the fingers, and they pull, oftentimes getting resistance from the person who made that fist. You will open it. I will not. You will. I won't. And the struggle goes on. Now, once in a while, this does work. The partner gives in, but these are the very folks that we don't need to use physical force to get them to comply in the first place. Yes, even though we're dealing with the fist here, This represents the use of physical force to demand compliance. Works with some kids, the ones we don't need to use it with. Doesn't work with others, the ones we call defiant and non-cooperative, not realizing that we've created the very problem that we complain about. Some folks get frustrated and they yell, "Open the fist or you're losing!" Whatever it is, recess, points, something along that line, somehow with the belief that if I say it louder, it will have more effectiveness. And you know what? Once in a while it does. I think the 80-15-5 rule applies here. Any strategy you use will work with 80% of the kids really well. It'll get some hemming and hawing and a little bit of continued resistance from others before they give in. Work fairly well with 15%. Won't work at all with 5% of our kids, the ones we refer to as being defiant, non-cooperative, and insubordinate. Yeah, it works with 80% of the kids. Very reinforcing to a yeller. But that approach isn't needed with most kids. We're yelling at kids we don't need to yell at. And again, it doesn't work with a certain group of kids. So what do we do? Well, the recommended approach is to ask. Would you open up your hand, please? Once we have given a direction or a request, we can then see whether it's followed and determine where to go from there. Let's set the stage by asking or giving a polite direction using the three parts: the youngster's name, specifically what you want that youngster to do, and don't forget the magic word. Now! Oh, no, I mean, please. What other approaches could we use? Before even giving a request, we could try to distract the youngster back into appropriate behavior. Shake, catch as we toss a coin or a token to the youngster, getting them to use the hand in an appropriate way, the equivalent of distracting a youngster back onto task or back into appropriate behavior in the classroom, on the ward, in the residence. Distracting them to appropriate behavior. Hey, give me a high five. Give me 5 down low. Any way to get the youngster to engage in appropriate behavior. Some folks massage that fist. They rub it and they stroke it. They say, "You feeling all right?" This is the equivalent of saying to a youngster, "You seem tense. Would you like to talk about it? I'm here to help you. What do you need?" Soothing a youngster who's under a great deal of stress and discombobulation at the moment. I've seen some people give a fist bump, knuckle to knuckle, saying, "Hey, I know what it's like to feel that way. I know what it's like to be going through what you're going through. I'm here to help. I'm here to share my experiences and help you through yours." Some folks tickle the fist, the equivalent of using humor in a tense situation to bring down that stress level, to bring down that tension. The use of humor. Did you use another approach? If so, I would love to hear it. Give me an email at drmac@behavioradvisor.com. All right then, we know where we're going today with our series of podcasts. We've engaged in a little bit of behavior that involves conflict and resistance. We've talked about some effective and ineffective approaches, something we are going to speak about in great depth in future podcasts. But right now, we're going to draw part 1 to a close and prepare to bring up part 2, where we're going to talk about the incidence level. How much defiance is out there? We'll also talk about what is defiance. I look forward to visiting with you again when you've got part 2 up and loaded. Until then, I'm Tom McIntyre of Behavior Advisor. And in fact, even after that, I'll still be Tom McIntyre from Behavior Advisor.